Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Brandon with Implementation Specialists. Um, we have a great webinar here set up for you today on making your GP login your own. Our presenter today is Christine Lowe. But before I hand it over to her so she can kind of go over the agenda and then kind of get right into it, please don't hesitate to let us know if you have any questions. I'm going to be monitoring the questions box in the GoToWebinar. So please feel free to type your questions in there. We will also take time at the end of the webinar to take you off mute, and you could ask your questions that way as well. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Christine, and she will get going with our webinar today.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. I appreciate that. Hello, everybody. I really, having worked with a lot of clients throughout the last 20 years with GP, I have noticed that we're not really utilizing some of the things that really make GP work for you in a much more efficient manner. And mostly it's because we just don't know that these things exist. And so I did want to go over some of the main ones with you today. Your homepage can really work for you. And there are several different areas we'll take a look at with your homepage and how you can control what you're seeing there. A lot of people don't know about user preferences. We have user preferences that we can change how our display looks. And, not just for fun, but really to make it more efficient. Required fields can be different colors, so they really stand out and you're not stuck on that screen. We can change the colors, we can change a lot of areas, or we can make some defaults that will just take a little bit of time off of each transaction that you do. So we're going to examine shortcuts. Shortcuts can be done in a couple different ways, and it allows you to go to different places without ever leaving GP, whether it's a spreadsheet or maybe a web page that you always use, or maybe it's something that you always do, a particular transaction. And instead of having to go through the whole rigmarole of GP transactions, AP, and then get into it that way, we can set up a shortcut that you can just click your shortcut after it's set up, and it'll bring you right to the page that you're normally in or the one that you use a lot, okay? We have menu bar buttons, which we can add to, it's almost like a shortcut, just in a different area of your screen. We have reminders. Reminders are really good, and they're tied to, they can be tied to, I'll give you an example, they can be tied to any kind of a smart list. And we'll go through a couple of examples of that. Maybe there's something that you need to see or would like to see immediately when you first open up that page in the morning. Whether it's payables due or maybe things that have gone past 90 days in collection, and you want to see that right when you pop up there, and you can drill down and really keep a handle on your AP, AR financials. We will go over the shortcuts that I talked about. We'll go over a couple of keyboard shortcuts, and there is one thing that I had not put here, but I really did want to touch on it, and it's lists. And they'll make more sense when we get to them, but there are some lists of things that we do, maybe daily, monthly, maybe year-end, maybe quarterly, and we can utilize. There are some that Microsoft puts right in there for us because they're pretty self-explanatory and a lot of people will use them. We can take those and customize them, or we can create our own from scratch. So we'll do that as well. So I just wanted to give you an overview, and let's go ahead and minimize this and pull up our GP product here. Okay, and as you can see, this is my home screen. And you can see that the home screen is this top button right here. Okay, when we first set up our computers, when we first install and log in as a particular user, it will ask us these questions. That will ask us a question where we're going to go, but after it's been set up once, people don't realize we can go back and we can change this. Okay, So up here at the top, that says customize this page. I can click on this, okay? And this is a kind of small, but I can change what I see. I can change, I can add my reports. I can work with project time and expense and pull things in. I can change, I can make a to-do list, quick links, connections. We're going to be doing some of these. I can really kind of control what I would like to see. Now, maybe I have changed roles. Maybe now I'm more in, I've gone from one role to another. Mine is set up right now just to default into my industry being education, and we won't have every industry in here. This is a default, and it gives us sort of a, when we first get in, it gives us a way to at least get a beginning of things that you might need if you are. So maybe I'll change this, and I'm in healthcare. And I'm the accounting manager there, or maybe I'm an accounts payable person. If I say okay, it will change basically on my to-dos. It'll change my connections. I can add reports to this. And quick links have already been set up for this particular role. And those fall, I'm going to customize this page, and they go under roles. Excuse me. Come over this way. Okay. So maybe I don't want to see, for example, right now I've got it set to 2 columns. Maybe I would like 3 columns because I have more things that I want to put up there that I want to view. And if you have a large enough screen, 3 columns can make sense for you. So you would just insert this or click on here, and then you would have to reboot. So we're not going to actually change it, but you can see, just as if you kind of add a monitor within the Microsoft, it behaves the same way. It will bring you 3 screens, maybe just 1 large screen, which I don't usually see people using because they want to have things boxed off into different areas like their reports. So if we say okay here, we'll also notice that there are 2 ways to move about from our home screen. We can do sort of the old-fashioned way, like it's really a preference. It's not old-fashioned versus newfangled, but it's coming down from Dynamics. I can go in and say, okay, from here, I would like to do from here, I would like to go to my user and company, change my user date. Maybe I want to go to Smart List from here, okay? But there are other ways that we can do that. I can also go through transactions, and I'm going to do a purchasing transaction. Purchasing, and then I come down to exactly what I want. Now, this is one way, and I, of course, called it up. This is one way that we can do this, and this absolutely works. It depends on what you're most comfortable with. I've become more comfortable coming down here and saying, okay, you know what? In purchasing, I want to see all of my options instead of going from transactions to purchasing to looking at it all the selections this way. I can actually just click on purchasing down here. And all of the options that you saw when we just did the drill down from transactions to purchasing, they're all here on my screen now. They're just divided in a little bit easier format. I can see transactions. I can jump right to inquiry, jump right to a vendor card, and I can see these. And for me, it's really a preference. And for me, it just has to do with being able to have all my options in one module right in front of me. Maybe I do a lot of transactions, but I don't do anything with utilities. So these boxes can be moved around. They can be shuffled. Maybe I want inquiry to be up here. It will shuffle it around and I don't do routines or setup maybe, but I'll do, some of the others, cards, transactions, and inquiry and reports. These are my top three because that's how I'm kind of the order I do them in. So this can be changed, and this will be remembered by GP, and it'll be remembered by your user ID and your user login, not by the computer. So customizations that you make, and then your computer is being serviced or something, if you log into someone else's computer under your login, your changes will follow you. Okay. Now, speaking of that, down here, I don't know if you can see this little tiny thing right here. This is my home page. These are some of the ones that I've chosen to be able to just click a button. I can go to sales now. Now everything is up here for sales. And I've got transactions, and maybe I want to change cards down here and put inquiry back up in the middle. Just the same way, transactions, inquiry, reports. Now, if you see down here, there are tiny little icons. And I know what they are, but they don't necessarily they don't necessarily look like what they are. HR and payroll has little coins on it. We've got our inventory, manufacturing, and this is always what's down there is going to be really what you have installed and your company has installed. Now, if I click to the right, I can go to, I can show fewer buttons or more buttons, but that's not really as efficient. If I want to go to my navigation options, and let me do that, it's very small, so let me try that, go one more time. Right here on my configure button, if I go to navigation pane, you see I can say I want to see them all. I don't want to see this one, and I don't want to see field service or project, but I do have manufacturing, purchasing, and sales. And I will change that. And then this is now what I will have access to. And it will remember this for me. So now I can easily just click on one of these, if I'm going into financial, and it will be based on what your security is as well. So you will not be able to, if I clicked on financial, but I'm not somebody that normally does journal entries and that type of thing, even though I've asked it to pull this up, I won't have access to my transactions, general ledger, journal entries. It will follow my security through. So here are some ways that we can just sort of make this overall page work for us a little bit better. Another thing that I don't know that people are aware of is in here, under our main thing here, there is something called user preferences. Okay, and within here, I've got HR, but I won't do that here. But you know what? I do want to change this. I changed it earlier so I could change it. When things pop up for printing, how many of you like actually hit print and then gone, oh my goodness, I just clicked something that was 200 pages and it's gone to the printer already. Well, it's gone to the printer because my default report destination is printer. So I always play it safe just for me, and I make my report destination go to the screen, and this will follow my user ID wherever I'm going, because I can always print to the printer or to a file from the screen. But this way, I just haven't killed a tree in the process. So there's that. This is something that very few people, if we move down, this is something that is very, very rarely used. We usually tab through when we're doing our data entry. But some people do prefer, depending on what your particular job is, to hit the enter button. I find it a little bit cumbersome just because if I hit the enter button, oftentimes it will save the transaction and make it disappear. So I keep it on tab. This is a good one too if you're entering sales, but I don't enter quotes and I don't enter orders or anything like that. I don't even want to have to, every time I open the sales word processing screen, have it default to quote, and then I have to drop down and say, no, I really want an invoice. So this now, every time I open my sales doc screen, this is only a default. You can still get to the others, but it's the one that you do the most. So, so this would be, this would absolutely be something that you want to, if you're a sales order entry person, something that you definitely want to do. These are some key ones. One that I really like here is my display. I'll change this back. The default is this. It might be bolded, maybe. The default when it first starts is this. And this shows now, see this little, let's move it over here a little bit if I can. Okay, so when I'm entering any screen that I'm entering in or having to get in and out of, I can, the default will be to bold and be black. But for me, my eyes don't work that well. And I like to be able to see those default, because if you're anything like me, you've at least once gotten stuck on a screen when you're trying to save or exit and it says you have not entered all the default fields, have not all been entered. It's very frustrating, I know, because you can't get out of that screen and you have no idea what you don't have in there. So I always come in here as a user preference, and I'll go in and change this to be red and bold. If I hit apply, boy, that's a big difference. I can really see that those things are required, and I have to have data next to them in order to save that that particular screen. And anything that you do, any change that you make, you can apply it and see what it's going to look like. I mean, you can even change, depending on what you've got, you can change, my links are now green, whatever is good for you. And it's not so much pretty, it's just what works for you in the most efficient fashion. So would not recommend taking off the underline prompts, because these underlines, everything that's underlined, and this is consistent throughout the system, whether in whatever color it's in, anything underlined can be drilled back on. And that drill down functionality it's good to know that you can drill back on that. If you're entering a journal entry and it's telling you the account is inactive, and you've entered it in and you don't want it to be inactive, right next to the account, you'll be able to click on that underline, take you right to the account and make that account active again. And that is so much faster than having to get out of what you're doing, go into, financial account here and make your change, and then come back to your transaction. If you can do it straight from the one screen, that's just going to speed up your day. I'm going to move this back to blue. And go ahead and change that there. Once I'm done, I can go ahead and save, and this will, until I change it again, if I change it, it will save. I mean, it will save it, but it will stay like this on any computer at all on my, when I log in, under my login. So let's see, a couple of other things before we move into it exactly. Reminders, we're going to see reminders from a different area, but this is another way that we can access those. Okay, and I'll save my changes. Okay, let's see. Couple of other things that we can do. If I want to see something larger, this is very customizable. I can these icons or these little maximize multi-column mode will pull up anything. These are ones I don't use, but I do enter a whole lot of cards. Maybe I enter accounts, maybe I maintain checkbooks, anything like that. Okay, so we'll put it back for now. And let's see. Oh, I am sorry about this. I wanted to take a look at this. Okay, so maybe I have all of these things. This is one thing I did miss, I'm sorry. Maybe it'll default to financial, sales, purchasing, whatever the original setup was. But maybe, I work mostly in inventory. So I'm going to move inventory to the top, okay? And say okay. Now I should have, oh, it won't once I, or let's move financial down if we can't, and see if it will take it without. Some of these will, because they're dealing with setups. A couple of these you may have to exit and re-enter GP, and this may be one of them. But no, it's not. Actually, it did it. It moved the sales up above. Home will stay on top, but it moved my sales to the top when I moved it up. So, because I want things to be available to me immediately. Okay. Something else that you can do is you can expand and collapse content. Here's an example, quick links. I have a lot of quick links here, and quick links, maybe I do a lot of posting. I'm going to be doing I'm the one that does all of the GL posting, and maybe AP and AR stops at a certain point. And so one of my quick links is master posting, and with one tiny click on master posting, I can see every batch available out there. I can click more than one, and you have to have security, of course, to do this, but it's just an example of going, instead of having to find that, it's very easy for me to just click on this, and now I can see this, and I want to do all financial batches, and I can just click them all and post, okay? Of course, we're not going to do that now. These are quick links. Now, I can change details. So I can modify what my master posting is. I can add a new one, and I can change the order in which these quick links are viewed. Okay, so if you're looking at quick links, you have an edit to change your details. You have a help. There are little tiny, these are help in this is quite good, actually. And we'll take a look at it when we open the screen. I was going to say, oh yeah, okay. So I'm going to expand and collapse content. I have more. Maybe I've added more to my page here, my home page. So some of them I just want them to default as closed, and some I don't. Let's see. Did I check on that? Yeah, I don't want to go back there. Let me go back to my home page. Okay, so when I do this edit, it doesn't give me just my edit options. This is going to give me an ad, okay? And you'll find this throughout the system, and I think this is wonderful. You'll find it in shortcuts, and you'll find it in your reminders and your quick links, and they're all a little bit different. But I can add a new quick link that will show under that listing. I can go to I can go to a web page. Maybe there's a web page I have to check every day because I work in multi-currency, and I need to go up and I need to check, what that day's currency ratings are. So or maybe I go into Great Plains Partner Source or Customer Source a lot, and I would actually just put in my web page and add it. Okay. I can also add a GP, an external program or file. I could add an Excel program. I don't want to leave GP. I don't want to minimize it or close it. I want to be able to browse to a file name, Excel deduction list or something if I'm working in HR. And I just browse out to my computer or my network, and I can access it to any file, Excel, Word, anything else that I may need to see quickly for my quick links. And I'm not going to save all that. Let's cancel it. Okay. And then once I've added it, it will add at the bottom. But of course, I can always take that and I can move it up and rearrange all of those. A lot of people for quick links will put a smart list because a lot of people live in smart list. And that's a good way to do it. If I wanted to add this, I could go ahead and say add, but this time I'm going to add a Microsoft Dynamics GP window. Okay, and look, here it is here. And I can go to transactions. Every time I would add, maybe I do a lot of journal entries. So I'm going to add this one. Now here it is on the bottom. It doesn't make any sense to me. It just came up as general. Okay, I'm going to go like here and I'm going to say enter journal entries because that just makes more sense to me. And I'm going to say okay. And it's something I do all the time. So did I get to the top? Okay. Okay, so did it go in there? Am I not seeing this? Did I delete it? Maybe it's because I didn't do it all the way. Fortunately, I believe in this. I'm in 2018. I do believe I may have to get out of here and come back in, but it would be it would then be wherever I had decided to put it. Unfortunately, I wish I could see it. We'll be able to see it from another way. I can add reports. I can add reports that I run all the time. And right here on my home screen, I can pull them in the same way. Maximize, minimize the multi-columns, expand collapse content, help if I need help, and I can change details, which is to add a report of any kind. Let's see. Okay. Kind of want to move on a little bit from here. We added user preferences here as a shortcut. Customer source here is a shortcut because we've added that. Report shortcuts. My shortcuts, custom and smart list favorites. Say I go to smart list favorites. Okay. And I think it's because I'm on a large screen, and so the font is a little bit odd. I apologize. But I can go ahead and have my smart list favorites pop up here, or maybe even smart lists that are just assigned to me. When you add a smart list, you can do that. See, pending approval, GP reports. And I believe on our GP reports, I think I had done it, but maybe not. The very first time you add your GP reports, it's going to go ahead and click on this, don't panic. It's bringing up all the different GP reports that you've got. There we go. And again, it's just the font from the two different screens I'm using. Okay, so we head up back here. Let's see, this is all from here. If I want to do a, this is administration, but I can come here. Okay, we're gonna work on a reminder in a minute. Let's see, what else are we working with? We're gonna work with short lists, right? Reminder shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts. How many of you are aware of keyboard shortcuts? And I'd like to post this. Brandon, is there some place that I can post this afterwards? This is something I usually send out to all my clients, and it's a listing of keyboard shortcuts that really can cut down on your taking your hand off your keyboard and going to a mouse.
Yeah, we can see if we can send that out with the recording.
Oh, that would be great. That would really be great because, you know, there's one that I can show you right now that would just, okay, I'm going to do a transaction, and this is just one example, and it's very self-explanatory, this list, but I've found that I find it really, really helpful. So I'm going to go on track transactions, and I'm going to do transaction entry. Okay, So here I am, my voucher number, and I'm moving along through here. And my vendor, oh my gosh, I do not know what this vendor is, but I know it starts with an R-E something. I hit R-E, Control L, and it brings me right to the beginning of it. I can get the right one, hit enter, and I've never touched my mouse. So a lot of people aren't aware that instead of having to take your hand off and click on this, you can actually just hit Control Lookup. So there are a lot of, see, it even says it right here, Control Lookup. Anything with your looking glass can be Control L'd. So it will save you a lot of time. And then you can quickly do an arrow and a select. I don't know if everybody knows that, cancel this and clear it. I don't know that if everybody knows that if you only enter, if you're working in 2018, now I'm not because I am in the test company that is in 2027. But you only have to do the first two numbers, the first two, 0101. It will fill the year in for you. And I watch a lot of people and they're entering a slash and they're entering the entire 4-digit year or anything like that. And really, all you need to do is a 101 tab. A 101 tab will take you directly to, will put you into the date that is the date that's here on your computer, right here at the very bottom left. Let me delete that. Another thing to note that if you have to jump between companies, you go to here and you go to user and company, it really is, I found that a lot of people don't know it's much faster really to come down here. I can change my date here if I click on it. And I do this, I change my date. I used to be a controller, I'm an accountant, and I've used GP, so I understand month end and how crazy it can get. So you have a date here, but it's really the 4th or the 5th of the month, but I'm not working in this month. I'm actually still working in March, okay? So I'm gonna put 03/31. Now it's gonna hold that date for me until I actually log back out and log back in. But I'm not doing anything in April yet because I'm still in March and I'm still entering transactions or I'm doing journal entries. And all that date does is every single thing that you do, your transactions, your journal entries, financial. So say I'm just doing a general journal entry. Look, it's going to default to the date that I have set here at the bottom. And we want to do that because that saves a lot of oops, by accident, I posted to the wrong month. So I always recommend especially at month end when things get absolutely nutso, I recommend changing that date first thing when you get in. Also, so you don't have to go and change companies by user and company or user date. That's the other way to do it there. You can just click on this company down here and it will take you, now I don't have an option because this is a sample, but it can go right here. And if I want to change the user, I just click from here. So it's a lot faster just to go ahead and change your user and company from here than having to, from clicking down here, than from having to go through all of this. See, I don't know if you're aware of a process monitor. How many people have hit print a bunch of times by accident because we get impatient? And the process monitor, and I've actually used this because I've been printing, like, say, month-end reports, and I've kicked off the whole series. And now somebody's come running into my business, running into the office and saying, you know what, the pizza guy is here. And I know it's a weird example, but it's actually happened to me. And I need to cut a check. Nobody has cash. I need to cut a check for this pizza guy. So in the process monitor, it looks like a print queue. And it will show you everything that's going on. It will also show you that if you're really concerned, like say you can't exit. I know it's happened to everyone where you can't exit because it says processes are being run. If you're wondering what that process is, you can look under the process monitor and you'll be able to see what is being run and whether it can be suspended or deleted. It is a smart queue though, because you can remove it, but you can only remove it up until a certain point, especially like a posting. If it knows when it's hit a certain point and you cannot remove it. But I have come in here like with my month-end reports and looked at this, and there's 18 different reports running, and it could run all day. But I need to actually print, and I can't override that. It's kind of grayed out, but if I highlight that, I can actually hit suspend and stop it briefly. If I suspend it, I can cut a check and I can come back and resume. I can also, if I've done lots and lots of hitting the print button, I can click the print button, click, the duplicates that I made, and I can actually remove them just like a print queue. So one thing to just be aware of. Okay, let's move on to, well, let's go here to our shortcuts really quickly. All right, so some of them are here. Let's see. Or wait, first let's go, I guess, to reminders. I'm sorry to be jumping. And because I can go to SmartList quickly, I will. Okay. So I'm going to open it. And again, this is this is what it defaulted to, but maybe this is one that I want. Actually, it isn't. Let me see if I can go in the other way and see if that will change my change. Yes, okay, let's do it this way. Okay, so let's go to sales and let's go to sales transactions, okay? And we see here that this has several that come. The asterisk, of course, is always always the generic one. But maybe I have open invoices, okay? That means that they haven't been paid. So I can put this here. I can add a column that says, when is my document due date? Let's see. Due date. Okay, here's my due date. So this is just a smart list, and now I can see my due date for each of these documents. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So I have a due date assigned now, and you know how you go in and you click your favorites. Oh, first let's hit a column, I guess, and let's say, let's see, we want the due date at the bottom. I don't want to do this yet. I'm going to go to my search, and I'm going to say document due date. It has a couple of other things, but okay, is equal to or is less than, how about that? Is less than the end of the week, okay? And it will know that. So I can say, okay. And of course, it's not going to pull it up because it's the sample company. Okay, let's see. Let me get a better one. What do you think, Brandon, if we should put 3/31/2027? Let's see. I'm going to say less than the end of the quarter. That'll bring them all up, I guess. No. Okay. I don't want to get stuck on this part of it. Yeah. Let's search again. Okay, because we have such an awkward amount, let's put greater than. the beginning of the calendar year. It's got to pull something up, right? Yay. Okay. Normally you would put like maybe I want everything by Friday, but if you didn't have working in the sample company, it would make more sense with your data to say I want everything that has a due date on or before Friday because I'm going to plan my check run. But when I go and I click my favorites and I want to save this, I click my favorites and I'm going to add it to invoices to be paid this week. And I can make it to the system or just to myself and put a password. But what I'm going to do is instead of just adding the favorite, I'm going to add a favorite and a reminder. And my reminder is going to say, if the number of records is greater than 0, okay, if it's pulling up greater than 0, it's going to be a reminder. So I'm going to say, okay. And I'll get out of this one as well. Let's go back to my home page. Okay, so here I have it. I just added that. Invoices to be paid this week. When I open up my screen, I can see all the invoices that were going to be paid this week. If I have a question on it, I drill down, I can see exactly what's going on. I can see which one it is. Maybe I can change the due date if it's on hold for some reason. But that's something that I can see the moment that I walk in the morning. So you can do it for invoices to be paid, invoices to be received, maybe an invoice to send a letter, a collection letter or something like that. And those are your reminders as well. Now I know we're running a little bit short, so we talked about shortcuts. And we have our shortcuts over on here. We have, we can add a shortcut here. I can add a window, a smart list. I can add a macro, a web page, or an external shortcut, which will bring me again to what we looked at for the reminders. It can be an Excel spreadsheet. It could be a Word doc. It could be almost anything that you want a quick single click to get to that. Now, there's one thing, the last thing I wanted to talk about briefly is there are, within Great Plains, and purchasing is a good one to look at, there are lists that are created already, and we can add to them, we can change them. It really works well for trading purposes, or it works well for quarterly and year-end closes, which you don't do very much of, you don't do it enough to really know where all of the each screen, gosh, how did I get to that one screen to run that quarterly report? Okay. But in this case, I'm looking at purchasing, and down here, always under routines for every module, you're going to see checklists. Okay. Some of these come with a system. Here's my month end to reconcile to GL. What if I wanted to add, let's see. Calendar year is going to pull my 1099s. And that's important because I only do it once a year and I forget where to go to do my 1099s. So all I have to do is look at my calendar year list. I double click on it and it takes me right to where I need to run my 1099s. And these are throughout the system in every module. And I can add things to it. I can say, okay, I've got a new payables person. So I'm going to create a daily, checklist I'm going to add. And the first thing that I'm going to add is going to be enter transactions. It's a Microsoft GP window. Okay. And it's in purchasing. And these are all in alphabetical order, so they're not too tough to find. Payables transaction entry. Okay. And I'm going to say, okay, and there it is. So now I have a brand new employee, and I would enter several things. I'd do that, then I'd enter maybe the next one down will be my edit list. The next one down will be to post my batch. And then I'd create something for weekly, maybe for my check run. But now this person, and to top it off, I can make this checklist come up here under one of my shortcuts, so that all they have to do, your new payables person has to do, is click over here on your daily purchasing routines, and they'll get this checklist. Now, it'll take them directly to the transaction, and not only will it do that, but it will, okay, I've done that, it will tell me exactly when the last time that somebody went there. It'll tell me what time, the date, the time, and who went there. And it will continue to keep that. I can add to it as I go along. Paydays, period ends. Sales might be a better one. Reconcile to GL. And this takes us to our reconciliation utility. So, and within the system, but now I know who is the last one to reconcile or to attempt to reconcile and when they did that exactly. So there are a lot of advantages to this. If I look at, for example, sales, and again, under routines, we will have checklists. And here we go. Here's a good example. Okay, here's my month-end receivables. I want to go and age my receivables, reconcile to my general ledger. I can remove this if it doesn't apply to me. If my company does not utilize finance charges, I can easily take this away. Okay. Now I can add new statements, transfer commissions, paid transaction removal, and each one of these takes me without having to remember exactly where I go to do my aging. So I just want to make you aware that it is under routines and it's really underutilized, but it's a great training tool. And it's also a great way to make sure for things that you don't do all the time, like your quarterly things, running your 941s, whether it's payroll or what have you, what happens on a weekly basis, what happens on a monthly, what happens on month-end close. You can even create one for reports for month-end close so that somebody that's running the reports doesn't miss one and you know who ran it. So it's just something that I wanted everybody to be aware of. I've just been talking your ear off and I feel terrible about that. But we've kind of covered each of the things, and it's a big topic because there are so many different ways to do things, and it's because GP straight out of the box is trying to accommodate as many different types of businesses and likes and dislikes and ways to do things. So we have so many options to customize it, to make it our own, and to make it. It may seem like it takes a long time to set this up, but it really doesn't, and it really saves you time in the long run. Looking for that. So I guess, Brandon, do we want to ask if anyone has any questions or?
Yeah, that sounds great. What I'll do is I will take everyone off mute, and so please feel free to ask any questions that you may have. As we kind of mentioned, this webinar is being recorded, so you'll get a copy of this as well, and we'll do our best to share those shortcuts as well along with this recording.
Oh, so, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, the keyboard shortcuts, definitely we'll be doing that. Yep. Yeah.
Perfect. So everyone is off mute.
Does anybody feel like they might be able to utilize some of this, whether it's for an employee or a colleague or for yourself as reminders?
Well, I'll speak for myself. I actually was reminded where to do something, Christine, and I made a change.
Great. Oh, God. So, and again, if it's something that you want to take offline, and shoot us an email or say, we covered a lot. We really did cover a lot of ground in a short period of time. So, if there's something specific to you that you maybe want to address, offline, please, we're here for you, and feel free to, to reach out. We'll be happy to point you in the right direction.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Oh, I'm sorry. Was there a question? Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining our webinar. We hope you found it beneficial. So if you do have any questions, please let us know. We'd be happy to assist. So with that, everyone have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.